The unexpected encounter. Captain Jace Meridian had long forgotten what a normal day felt like. 15 months stationed on Nexus 7 had redefined his understanding of routine to include acid rain, gravitational fluctuations, and wildlife that regarded humans as walking appetizers. The hazard pay was substantial, but some mornings, like this one, he questioned if any amount of credits was worth it. Local atmospheric toxicity at acceptable levels, chirped Echo, his field companion drone. Only mild corrosion expected on exposed equipment today. Wonderful, Jace muttered, fastening the reinforced collar of his environmental suit. Just what I wanted to hear before breakfast. Outside his prefabricated shelter, Nexus 7 greeted the morning with its usual hostility. The sky hung low and heavy, the color of bruised copper, while the twisted vegetation surrounding the outpost pulsed with bioluminescent warning signals. Something large moved in the distance, disturbing the canopy of spine trees. Jace instinctively checked the charge on his pulse rifle. Scout Outpost Delta was humanity's furthest monitoring station in the Cygnus Arm, a bleeding-edge foothold in territory that had, until recently, been considered uninhabitable. The United Earth Coalition needed resources, and Nexus 7, for all its murderous tendencies, was rich with rare minerals and exotic compounds. Jace's job was simple: survive long enough to map the viable extraction zones. "Captain, I'm detecting an anomalous energy signature," Echo announced, its casing shifting from standard blue to alert orange. "Atmospheric entry detected. Trajectory suggests uncontrolled descent." Jace pulled up the holographic display on his wrist computer. "Show me." The projection revealed a rapidly falling object, leaving a trail of superheated atmosphere in its wake. Too small for a commercial vessel, too large for standard debris. "Analysis?" he asked, already reaching for his field kit. 93% probability of a celestial Dominion craft. Design matches diplomatic courier vessels. Current descent vector will result in impact approximately 4.7 kilometers northeast of our position. Jace froze. The Dominion was the most advanced civilization in the sector, elegant and aloof. They rarely engaged with humans beyond carefully controlled diplomatic channels. Whatever was falling from the sky represented either a massive opportunity or an interstellar incident waiting to happen. Plot the fastest route. We're going to check it out. Protocol suggests notifying Central Command before. We'll notify them after we confirm what we're dealing with, Jace interrupted, slinging his rifle across his back. The journey through Nexus 7's jungle terrain was punishing. Jace moved quickly, following Echo's projected path through tangles of barbed vegetation and pools of liquid that bubbled ominously. Twice he had to take cover as hunting packs of blade beetles swept overhead, their crystalline wings catching the dim light like shards of broken glass. When he finally reached the impact site, the scene was worse than he'd expected. The vessel, sleek and organic in design, typical Dominion aesthetics, had carved a trench nearly half a kilometer long through the landscape. Pieces of iridescent hull material lay scattered like fallen stars, still humming with residual energy. "Life signs?" Jace asked, approaching cautiously. "One faint biosignature. Dominion physiology. Severe trauma indicated." Following Echo's guidance, he found the cockpit section, twisted but largely intact. The canopy had fractured but not shattered, a testament to Dominion engineering. Through the spiderweb of cracks, he could make out a slumped figure. After forcing the emergency release, Jace pulled the occupant free. She was unmistakably Dominion, tall and slender with opalescent skin that seemed to capture and refract the ambient light. Her most striking feature, the elongated cranial ridges that humans had nicknamed celestial crowns, was adorned with intricate metallic filigree that pulsed weakly with neural activity. Blood the color of liquid mercury trickled from a gash across her temple. "Can you hear me?" Jace asked, knowing his translation implant would convert his words. Her eyes fluttered open, iridescent violet irises expanding as they focused on him. She spoke, her voice melodic despite its weakness. His implant translated after a moment's delay. Human, how unexpected. I'm Captain Jace Meridian, United Earth Coalition. Can you tell me your name? She attempted to sit up, winced, then settled back. I am Lysara, first daughter of the luminous house of Valerian, bearer of the seventh seal of, she paused, coughing. But perhaps the full title can wait. Jace blinked. He wasn't an expert on Dominion politics, but even he recognized the implications. Your royalty. A simplification, but functionally accurate, she replied. And I am also, it seems, in your debt. Before Jace could respond, Echo's alert tone cut through the air. Captain, detecting multiple hostiles approaching. Nexus predators, drawn by the crash. Recommend immediate evacuation. In the distance, a hunting call echoed, the distinctive howl of a spinestalker. One was manageable. The chorus that answered suggested a full pack. Can you walk? Jace asked, already calculating options. Lysara attempted to stand, only to collapse against him. It appears not. My internal stabilizers are compromised. Jace made a quick decision, lifting her in his arms. She was lighter than expected, despite being nearly as tall as him. Echo, nearest secure location. Old mining outpost, 1. 2 kilometers southwest. Structural integrity at 68%. Good enough. Let's move. The journey to the abandoned outpost was a blur of adrenaline and tactical retreats. Twice they nearly encountered spinestalkers, predators evolved to hunt by sensing neural activity. Each time, Echo created diversionary electromagnetic pulses, buying them precious minutes. The outpost loomed ahead, a half-collapsed structure of reinforced alloys, designed to withstand both Nexus 7's hostile environment and the occasional resource dispute. Jace shouldered through the corroded door, setting Lysara down gently against a wall before securing the entrance. Charming accommodations, she remarked dryly, surveying the dust-covered equipment and fallen ceiling panels. 5-star by local standards, Jace replied, checking the outpost's systems. Emergency power still functions. We should be able to send a distress signal. No. Lysara's voice was suddenly sharp. No signals. Not yet. Jace turned to her, eyes narrowing. Mind explaining why? She held his gaze, a calculated decision visibly forming behind those alien eyes. My vessel did not malfunction, Captain. I was shot down. By my own security detail. That's quite an accusation. One I would not make if I weren't certain. She shifted, wincing at the movement. There is a faction within the Dominion that opposes my father's recent overtures toward human territories. They believe mingling with lesser species will dilute our evolutionary achievements. And they'd assassinate royalty over it? Jace asked incredulously. Politics in the Dominion is absolute. She touched her temple, fingers coming away stained silver. My father recently proposed sharing certain technological advancements with your coalition. Nothing that would upset the balance of power, but enough to demonstrate good faith. The announcement was to be tomorrow. Jace processed this while setting up a perimeter alert system. And you're the message. Eliminate the Emperor's daughter, make it look like an accident in hostile territory. Precisely. Any official distress signal would alert them to my survival. A heavy silence filled the room as implications settled. Jace had stumbled into something far beyond his pay grade, a potential interspecies incident that could reshape Coalition-Dominion relations for generations. Echo, scan for any tracking signatures, he ordered. Multiple dormant tracers detected in the princess's attire and personal effects, the drone reported after a moment. Currently non-transmitting, likely damaged in crash. Lysara nodded grimly. Standard protocol. My position is always monitored. Which means whoever arranged this will be checking why your signal disappeared, Jace concluded. And when they can't confirm your death remotely, they will send someone to verify. She finished his thought. We have perhaps 12 hours before they realize the crash wasn't fatal. Night fell rapidly on Nexus 7, bringing with it new dangers. The temperature plummeted, and the jungle's nocturnal predators began their hunts. Inside the outpost, Jace had managed to restore minimal life support and treated Lysara's wounds with his field medical kit. Her physiology was different enough to make him hesitant, but she guided him through the basics. Your species heals remarkably slowly, she observed as he dressed a laceration on his arm, sustained during their escape. We make up for it with stubborn determination, he replied. An unexpected smile touched her lips. So I've noticed. Echo interrupted their moment of connection. Motion detected, perimeter zone 2. Multiple signatures, moving tactically. Jace was on his feet instantly, rifle ready. Spine stalkers don't move tactically. No, Lysara agreed, her expression darkening. But assassins do. Through the outpost's cracked viewport, they could see figures moving through the underbrush, humanoid but wrong somehow, modified for stealth and lethality. Their movements were too fluid, too precise. Dominion shadow operatives, Lysara whispered. Elite killers. Jace quickly assessed their options. The outpost had been designed to withstand attacks, but not from advanced Dominion weaponry. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and Lysara was still injured. Echo, activate emergency protocol Theta 9, he commanded. Captain, that protocol is reserved for extreme circumstances. Which this definitely qualifies as. Execute now. The drone's lights pulsed acknowledgement before it interfaced with the outpost's remaining systems. Suddenly, every light, every power source in the facility began cycling erratically, creating an electromagnetic storm that would confuse both sensors and neural tracking. That won't hold them forever, Jace said, helping Lysara to a more defensible position. But it might buy us time. She studied him with newfound respect. You continue to surprise me, Captain Meridian. Most humans would have prioritized their own survival. Most humans haven't spent 15 months on Nexus 7, he replied, checking his weapon. Survival gets boring after a while. Sometimes you need to mix it up. As if in response to his flippancy, the first explosion hit the outpost's exterior wall. The gift of alliance. The explosion rocked the outpost, sending debris cascading from the ceiling. Jace threw himself over Lysara, shielding her from the falling fragments. The attackers were using sonic disruptors, advanced Dominion weaponry designed to destabilize structures at the molecular level. They're not taking chances, Lysara observed, her voice steady despite the danger. That's military-grade ordnance, not standard assassin equipment. Jace moved to the control panel, activating the outpost's ancient defense grid. Someone really wants you gone. Or wants what I know, she replied, rising to her feet despite her injuries. Her hand went to a pendant at her throat, a crystalline structure that pulsed with inner light. Help me to the communications array. I thought you said no signals. Not standard ones. Her eyes met his, intense and determined. There's another way. Together they made their way through the shuddering outpost to the communications station. Outside, the attackers were repositioning, preparing for another strike. Echo hovered nearby, continuously scanning and reporting their movements. For operatives, standard Dominion shadow formation, the drone reported. Estimated breach in 3 minutes. Lysara placed her pendant on the console, then pressed her palm against the outpost's transmitter. Silver filaments extended from her fingertips, interfacing with the human technology in ways Jace had never seen. What are you doing? He asked, dividing his attention between her unusual procedure and the perimeter alerts. Creating a quantum entanglement channel. Undetectable, untraceable. Her expression was intense with concentration. This pendant contains a direct link to my father's private network. Only the Imperial family can access it. Jace had heard rumors about Dominion biotechnology, their ability to interface directly with systems, their neural enhancements that bordered on what humans would call telepathy. Seeing it in action was another matter entirely. Another explosion hit, closer this time. The lights flickered and died, leaving only emergency illumination and the eerie glow emanating from Lasara's hands. "Message sent," she announced, withdrawing from the console. The filaments retracted into her skin, leaving no trace they had ever existed. "Now we need to survive until extraction." "How long?" 20 minutes, if my father acts immediately." She retrieved her pendant. "Which he will." Jace checked his rifle's charge. "Then we hold for 20 minutes. The next quarter hour was chaos. The shadow operatives breached the western wall, forcing Jace and Lasara to retreat deeper into the facility. Echo provided tactical support, using its limited defensive capabilities to create distractions and temporary barriers. Jace fought with the precision and calm of a veteran scout, making every shot count. What surprised him more was Lasara. Despite her injuries, she moved with fluid grace, using a small energy weapon she'd concealed in her robes. "Palace training," she explained after dispatching an operative with a precise shot. "My father believed princesses should be able to defend themselves." "Sensible man," Jace replied, ducking a blast that melted the wall behind him. They were cornered in the outpost's core when the extraction arrived, not with the subtlety Jace expected, but with overwhelming force. The ceiling simply ceased to exist, vaporized by weapons technology beyond human understanding. In its place hovered a massive Dominion vessel, its hull shimmering with defense fields. Gravity beams reached down, immobilizing the remaining assassins. A transport beam enveloped Jace, Lasara, and Echo, drawing them upward into the safety of the ship's hold. The transition from battle to the immaculate interior of a Dominion diplomatic vessel was jarring. One moment Jace was covered in dust and blood, fighting for survival. The next, he stood in a chamber of impossible elegance, surrounded by tall, ethereal beings whose expressions ranged from curiosity to thinly veiled disdain. Lasara straightened beside him, suddenly every inch the royal figure despite her disheveled appearance. "Father," she said, inclining her head to the tallest figure. Emperor Valerian of the Celestial Dominion was not what Jace had expected. Coalition intelligence described him as ancient and imposing. The being before him certainly commanded respect, but there was warmth in his iridescent eyes as they settled on his daughter. "The message reached us in time," the Emperor said, his voice resonating at frequencies Jace could feel in his bones. "Your contingency protocols served you well." "Not as well as this human," Lasara replied, gesturing to Jace. "Without Captain Meridian, I would not have survived to send any message." The assembled Dominion officials murmured among themselves, their language too complex for Jace's translator to fully capture. Emperor Valerian approached, towering over Jace but inclining his head in what appeared to be respect. "You have the gratitude of the Dominion, Captain," he said. "Few of your kind would risk themselves for one of ours." "Anyone would have done the same," Jace replied, aware of how much diplomatic weight his words might carry. A smile touched the Emperor's features. "That is not my experience with most species. But perhaps humans are different in ways we have not fully appreciated." The next hours passed in a blur of medical treatment and debriefing. Dominion physicians tended to both Jace and Lasara with technology that made coalition medicine seem primitive by comparison. Wounds that would have taken weeks to heal closed before his eyes. Meanwhile, the conspiracy unfolded. High Counselor Vorex, a traditionalist who had opposed the Emperor's progressive policies, had orchestrated the assassination attempt. His followers had infiltrated Lasara's security detail, planning to eliminate her and blame it on the dangers of human territory, thus ending any possibility of closer ties with the coalition. The irony, Lasara noted as they stood on the observation deck, watching Nexus 7 recede beneath them, is that his actions have accomplished the opposite of his intentions. Jace raised an eyebrow. "How so?" My father was considering sharing basic medical technology, perhaps some agricultural advancements. Diplomatic gestures. She turned to face him fully. Now he's authorized a much more significant exchange. Starting with you. I'm not following. Emperor Valerian joined them, his robes flowing around him like liquid starlight. My daughter's life is beyond value, Captain Meridian. The Dominion repays its debts in full. Lysara stepped forward, holding out her hands. In her palms rested a device unlike anything Jace had seen, a neural interface, similar to the ornaments adorning her own celestial crown, but modified. This is a synaptic resonance amplifier, she explained. Adapted for human physiology. It will allow you to interface with Dominion technology, to communicate as we do, mind to mind. Jace stared at the device, understanding the magnitude of what was being offered. The technological gap between humans and the Dominion had kept their species at arm's length for generations. This would bridge that gap, at least for one human. The Coalition would consider this significant, he said carefully. As do we, the Emperor replied. It is unprecedented. But then, so was your action in saving my daughter without thought of reward or political advantage. Lysara's eyes held Jace's. It is also a bond. The neural patterns established would create a connection between us, allowing communication across any distance. A quantum entanglement of minds, Jace murmured, recalling her earlier explanation. Of a sort. Less invasive than it sounds. Her lips curved slightly. Though you would have to tolerate occasionally sensing my thoughts. The implications extended far beyond personal connection. With this technology, Jace would become a living bridge between civilizations, the first human to truly understand Dominion culture from within. The choice is yours, Emperor Valerian said. We will not force this gift upon you. Jace looked between them, then at Echo hovering silently nearby, its sensors recording this historic moment. He thought of his lonely outpost on Nexus 7, of the years spent on the fringes of known space. He thought of the possibilities this alliance could create. I accept, he said simply. The procedure took place in a chamber of crystal and light. Dominion physicians worked with precision, attaching the neural interface to Jace's temples and spine. The process was painless but strange, a sensation of expanding awareness, of connections forming across synaptic boundaries never meant to bridge. When it was complete, Jace opened his eyes to a new reality. The ship's systems whispered at the edges of his consciousness. He could sense the crew, their neural signatures glowing like distant stars. And brightest among them, a presence he recognized immediately. Can you hear me, Captain? Lysara's thoughts touched his, distinct from his own yet perfectly comprehensible. Loud and clear, Princess, he replied, marveling at the ease of the connection. She smiled, both physically and within their shared mental space. This is only the beginning. 6 months later, the diplomatic summit on Earth marked the official announcement of the Human-Dominion Alliance. Representatives from both civilizations gathered in Geneva to witness the historic agreement, unprecedented technological exchange in return for human innovation and cultural perspectives. Jace stood at the periphery of the Grand Hall, still adjusting to his role as ambassador liaison. The neural interface had transformed more than his understanding of Dominion technology, it had changed how Coalition leadership viewed him. He was no longer just a scout captain but a vital diplomatic asset, the one human who could communicate directly with the Dominion's highest circles. You're brooding again, Lysara's thought voice chided gently. She approached, resplendent in ceremonial attire that marked her new position as special envoy to Earth. Contemplating, he corrected. There's a difference. Her amusement rippled through their connection. Semantics. Together they watched as Emperor Valerian and the Coalition president signed the treaty that would forever alter the course of both civilizations. The first joint research facilities were already under construction. Dominion medical technology was being adapted for human patients. Coalition art and literature were being studied with fascination in Dominion academic circles. Did you ever imagine this? Jace asked aloud, preferring physical speech for this moment. When your ship crashed on that miserable planet? That a rescue born of simple kindness would reshape galactic politics? Lysara considered. No. But I've learned that humans have a talent for the unexpected. The ceremony concluded with the announcement of the first joint mission, a scientific expedition to the edges of known space, led by Ambassador Jace Meridian and envoy Lysara of the Luminous House. A journey that would take them back toward the frontier, but this time, not alone. As they left the hall, Jace felt the weight of responsibility balanced by a sense of possibility. The neural connection between them had grown more nuanced over time, allowing for the sharing of concepts that transcended language. Through it, he had glimpsed the vastness of Dominion history and the elegant complexity of their society. In turn, she had experienced human resilience, adaptability, and emotional depth. The traditionalists still object, Lysara noted as they boarded the shuttle that would take them to the orbital station. On both sides. Let them, Jace replied. They'll catch up eventually. Echo, now upgraded with Dominion technology, hovered nearby. Mission preparations are complete, Captain. The research vessel awaits your arrival. Jace nodded, his mind already reaching out to interface with their ship's systems. The neural amplifier had become a part of him, as natural as breathing. What had begun as a gift, a payment of debt, had evolved into something far more profound, a bridge between worlds. As they ascended toward the stars, Jace reflected on the chain of events that had brought them here. A routine scout mission. A crashed vessel. A decision to help without question or calculation. The smallest acts of kindness, it seemed, could alter the course of civilizations. What are you thinking about now? Lysara's question floated through his consciousness. Jace smiled. The future. And how it started with a simple rescue. Her response came not in words but in shared understanding, a complex blend of gratitude, determination, and something uniquely human that she had begun to appreciate through their connection, hope. The Dominion vessel accelerated into orbit, carrying with it the seeds of a new era, one born not from conquest or competition, but from an unexpected act of compassion on a hostile world at the edge of space. Nexus 7 was visible briefly through the viewport, its copper skies and twisted landscapes receding into the distance. The place where everything had changed, now just another point of light among billions. Ahead lay the unknown. And for the first time in human history, they would face it not alone, but with allies who could show them wonders beyond imagination, all because one scout captain had chosen kindness over protocol on a day that had started like any other.